Hey everybody, it's Sunday afternoon and I want to shoot a brief yard tour, just sort of an update on the yard tour I shot the other day. There was a few things I mentioned and I want to make sure we get it all on video since it's such a beautiful day today. One was this big white azalea we're looking at. I said it would be in its prime within the next few days, and it was, but we actually had an unexpected frost. We even had snow flurries yesterday, and now it's already sort of past its prime. We had one good day. There's a hummingbird on the feeder there, if you can see it or not. It looks like the male, and he's around on the backside. And there he goes. So we had a little bit of cold weather, and you can already see here at the bottom of the azalea, we're getting some brown discoloration, and so it's already past its prime, and we're on the back side of this azalea already, which is unfortunate. It really is spectacular when it's in full bloom, and we usually get a good week or two out of it if the weather's cooperative, but this cold snap has really put a hurting on it. So the other azaleas are coming along. The iris are finally starting to open up. I don't know if you notice those purple flowers in the distance there. And speaking of purple flowers, I actually just posted a couple of pics to Instagram, or at least a pic to Instagram. I've been looking at our ajuta, or bugleweed, which is this purple stuff that really does look like a weed growing everywhere, but it is effectively a ground cover if you can get it to establish. And it's a really pretty flower, and it's got really pretty purple foliage on it too. So that's another one that I wanted to sort of get a little bit of a look at while it's in bloom. It's kind of an unusual one for the yard tour. It's really right in the yard. I actually try to drive around this patch of it while it's in bloom. Once the flowers are gone, you can mow over it because it stays squat and stays on the ground. But when the flower spikes are up, I try to avoid it. So hostas are coming up like crazy. We already talked about that in my other video. The other thing I wanted to point out today is we've got these allium, or basically onions, and I said they go off like a firework, and in plant time they do. Plants, you know, obviously move a lot slower than real fireworks, but these send up one stalk and then it will just open up, and it will open like a burst of a firework, and it'll all happen within a few days and it'll be past. So I shot a video the other day where it was, the stalk was up, but it was still a complete closed flower bud, and now you can actually see it starting to open. And we've got another one over here that I did not even notice. The cold really hit the bleeding hearts over here. It's a big green jumbled mess over here now. Let's see if we can get this one into some sunlight. This one is going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to that. I didn't even know it was over here. It just sort of shot up through the weeds there. Well, I say weeds, it's the bleeding heart. They might as well be weeds. We have so many of them. But I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a good one. Again, will come up like a firework and be done very quickly. There's little Princess Sassafras. She's going to run away from us as we get closer, because she always does. So lots of daylilies, not a lot going on with the daylilies. Likewise over here, we will have a walk up there and look at the azalea and the dogwood. But here we have our, I can't even think what it's called now. Clematis is finally starting to really fill in and look good. Got Squeaker over there, probably coming around taking a walk with us. Got more clematis coming in on that little stand, or whatever that thing is right there. More iris, lots of hostas, lots of daylilies. Not a lot to talk about over here. We do have a lot of these money plants, and this is sort of the junky corner of the yard where everything gets piled up in the trash cans and the shed and so on and so forth, and yet this is where all of this money plant seems to thrive for some reason. We got all these beautiful little flowers. So I think we're going to continue our trend of taking the seed pods off of these once they bloom and just sort of scattering them around and throwing them, you know, up in the edges and whatnot, and giving it more of that sort of wildflower effect. And looking at one of my kayaks there, We got the good news the other day that the reservoir has now reopened. So I probably won't be out there on the weekends just because I always try to avoid people anyway. Social distancing is not an inconvenience for me, it is a way of life. So I usually don't go out there on the weekends. I'll wait till this week, and I will hopefully be out on the kayak, and we'll get some good outdoors video coming up real soon there. Again, not a lot to talk about, just a pretty azalea to look at. Lots and lots and lots of those tiger lilies coming up everywhere. One of our many dogwoods is in full bloom. We have those just growing wild in the bushes over there, all over the place. We have dogwoods everywhere. Bleeding hearts, burning bushes is another one we just get coming up everywhere. All these hostas are coming in really nicely. These are honeysuckle bushes, and they used to be really big, and all of the foliage was overhead. I'd spent years cutting all the lower branches out of it, so it created like this huge canopy and covered this whole side of the yard, or these whole beds. All this area was covered by this big canopy of honeysuckles. And last year I cut them down into stumps, and now you can see what's coming back from the stumps, so it doesn't look particularly attractive. And these big green bushes are not going to be here for too much longer. At the very least, we're going to thin out this lower stuff just to open up the the garden area underneath of it a little more. And then once they do their flower thing and they're finished, I'm probably going to cut them back again, and eventually we're going to maybe just let them die off. Maybe we'll let this one up here go. But you can see by the size of the trunks how big they actually were before I cut them back. Huge honeysuckle trees. So not a lot to talk about up here. Got another azalea there that's getting ready to bloom. This is a really deep red one. This one's really pretty. And again, don't forget, if you're interested in hostas, I do mail my aquatic plants from my aquarium, but I can also dig up some hostas, bleeding hearts, fern. I got all kinds of stuff. So if you see any plants you're interested in, let me know, and we can make some kind of arrangements. I can get something shipped off to you. So all right, let's go over to this garden and see if there's anything new and exciting going on over here. Another azalea that's getting ready to bloom. Oh, we do have an azalea over here. Again, I normally come in the garden from over this way, but because of what we're doing now, we're going to come this way. And unfortunately, it looks like this one got hit by the cold too. And that is a real shame, because this one looked like it took batteries. It was just positively glowing. And I guess it still is, you get the idea. But you can certainly see how it took a hit from the cold. Otherwise, everything looks pretty good over here. We were having some trouble with deer munching on stuff. They're coming in from across the street. They're coming in over the fence, and they're coming right up through the garden here. And they're making their way up and over the fence. And then there's somebody at the far end of a cul-de-sac up there that feeds them, puts corn out for them. And I think that's what draws them up through here. So fortunately, I have my own business where I spray deer repellent, and I was able to just grab my kit and come out here and spray my own garden for the first time ever. I've never had to do that before, but you can even see here on one of my burning bushes, this has got all the tips and everything but all munched off. So we got a significant amount of damage in a few days, but once I got out here and started spraying everything with my repellent, we have not had really any problems since. Sorry for all the bouncy camera work here. So a few things of note in here are the coral bells. These are all fairly new coral bells. We're looking forward to them coming in and filling out. And then of course we've got this black astilbe right there, which is a really good looking plant. And now we're going to have the neighbors' dogs barking their full heads off at us the whole time. So down here is where the exciting part of the garden is, and that to me is just because of all the micro hostas we have. This is a whole patch that's coming in, and we only planted one, so that's got to be self-propagating from seed more than likely. And if we walk around this way, we can see more astilbe. The last video I shot, I did not know what this plant was. It was just starting to come in, and it had really unusual looking foliage. I thought for a minute it might be some sort of mimosa or something similar to that, and it turns out it's actually just a fern, although I don't know what kind of fern it actually is. As I said before, we have so many different species of hostas and fern around here, I have no idea what most of them are even called. So that's all that is. It's some kind of fern. Mystery solved on that one. And it looks like this fern here. Okay, yeah, that's coming in. I didn't know if that was all dried up and shriveled and brown, or if that's fresh and new and coming in. So this fern actually survived and is looking good. That's going to be some sort of painted fern, judging by that little frond right there that's already opened up. Over here we've got more of the micro hostas, and again they are just self-propagating all over the place. We've got whole patches of them now that we never planted. And that looks like about it. The only other thing of note over here is our brand new oak leaf hydrangea. The deer hit this one too. We just planted this last fall, and we have high hopes for this one, but the deer hit it, so hopefully it'll be okay. It looks like it's going to be fine. You can see the damage here on the tip, and then the rest of it seems to be perfectly fine, so we shouldn't have anything to worry about with that one either. And that's about it. That's all I can really think of to talk about on this side, so let us go. I forgot to mention my trillium here. This is a native wild plant that grows around here, and in my last video there was a similar plant up in the top of the yard that I talked about, and I said I wasn't sure if it was the same plant or not, and it turns out that it is. It's just a slight variant on the same thing, but it was indeed trillium. So we have 3 different types of the trillium here in the yard, which is pretty interesting. I think there are only 3 types of trillium, and we have all 3 of them growing naturally in the yard. And we can take a walk past my fire barrel and have a quick look at the seeds and stuff coming in. It doesn't look like anything's been over here digging yet. And the missus has been coming out and covering this at night because the aforementioned cold weather and frost and even snow flurries yesterday. But everything there seems to look fine too. So there you go. I'm going to call that a trip all the way around the world. Again, there's no point in going down the driveway or out in the front of the yard. We don't need to look in all the little nooks and crannies. The main thing I wanted to show you was this azalea before it's done. And don't forget those allium. We'll be having a look at them again here real soon. And trust me, they will look like a firework going off when we actually see them. So thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, this is my yard tour video playlist. Thanks again. I'll see you real soon in the next one.